When it comes to expertise, there are two kinds of people. One group, they care more about the skills and about the results, and the other group, they care more about the performance. So I don't want to judge which approach is the better one, because both have advantages. Of course, it is very important that nowadays you're able to market yourself, because this is something that we all need on a daily basis. And many don't really want to admit this, because it is also oftentimes connected to a lot of shame. But it is actually what most people do, especially people who live in the cities. So at least that's that's what people always say. Regarding the other group, the group that cares more about skills and results, oftentimes it is said that those people, they are pickier and they care more about the details, and oftentimes they put way too little effort into their marketing. So sometimes it could be better if what they create and what they produce actually could also be seen. In this video, I want to mainly speak about the performer group. And by performer here, I don't really mean this striving for excellence in a way that actually works out. I mainly want to speak about that group that thinks that what other people perceive is the most important thing. And maybe you also have kind of difficulties to admit mistakes in front of other people. And it might also be common for you that when somebody else has huge success, and maybe a few months ago they were not as far developed as you are right now, and maybe they made it to catch up, and not only to catch up, maybe they overrounded you in some sense, or they're just ahead of you now. And for your ego, that's not nice. And this is something that is totally normal. I mean, no one likes it when somebody else who started later than you at some point just catches up and gets ahead of you. Or at least most people don't like this. So what's the issue here? The problem that most people don't see is that they don't see that in this situation, they just block their growth. So if you're doing this, you block your growth, because the moment that you start to care more about the comparison is when actually you already lose, because you are not in the present moment. Because if you care about the comparison, this is exactly the time that the other person uses to get even more ahead of you. So if you care about the wrong things, you should always know you're not only losing, you're losing even more. So the only approach that works in such a situation is to get back on track. But how do you achieve this? The most important thing about this to know is that the most crucial thing for your personal transformation actually is that you're open to learning and to your own development. Because openness is what sparks curiosity, or what enables it. It is the soil that curiosity needs. If you're not open, how can you be curious? How can you take advice? And how can you actually, on a level of reality, of truth, of actuality, how can you make it to really accomplish the things that you want, and not only that, to actually be victorious? How can you do that if your perception is so limited and not accurate? Because if you care more about your vanity, you care more about a fantasy. Because what the ego is it is our sense of self, but this sense of self is not reality. To some degree we need that, but it is not about presence and about the physical world. So it is not what gets you the results that you want to have. And if, for example, someone dares to attack the symbols that you use to create your own authority and your own power, that you derive your own power from, because you identify with these symbols, not only in your branding, but maybe also certain books that you read that stand in your shelf, a nice certificate, maybe you spend 10 years on going to a university, then you practiced for a few years, and you received a lot of certificates. The practice here is not the best example, because practice is actually what is needed. So practice is actually what grounds you and your knowledge. But even then, even if you're a practitioner and you have all these certificates in your room, does it mean that you actually have a profound level of depth? I mean, for example, there are people who deal with certain subjects. For example, they study economics, and they never ran a business. Are they able to hold the same quality of knowledge than an entrepreneur holds, who maybe worked in different businesses that were quite archetypal, so that this person has a very, very good transfer knowledge? So what I want to point out here is academic education is one thing, but it can also become just a symbol. The same as, the books in your shelves, your branding, the colors you use, your follower count on social media, also a big one. All the things that people see on the first impression. Your looks are also one of these things. Everything that gives you a certain advantage in a situation just by perception. So performance is all about that. Performance is all about perception management. And of course, we need this to some degree. It wouldn't be very trustworthy if we went to a doctor and the doctor wouldn't have a white robe and would just dress themselves very casually, or not comply with certain standards that give trust. At the same time, it wouldn't be the best thing if someone just does a bad marketing, because doing a bad marketing actually means that you have bad knowledge about the subject. So it actually would also create the wrong perception by having a bad marketing. So it's here not about doing a bad performance. This is not what I want to point out. I want to more point out that those standards that you establish, that you also keep and fulfill those standards, and that you stop caring so much about what other people think and how they perceive you, and also that you don't attach your identity to these things that are actually not that important. Because those things, those symbols of power, they can be very effective within society and in certain situations. They also hold a certain ritualistic value in some sense, because they also influence us on a subconscious level. But the most important is that you actually deliver what you have promised, so that you actually get and receive and create the substance of the vessel that you created. Because everything that you show, everything that you demonstrate, everything that you promise is actually like a vessel. It is a form, it is an empty form that you just publicly show. And only the moment when you know their substance, this is when genuine confidence comes in. And paradoxically, when you stop caring about all these things, you become more clear. You just stop being so much in your head. You're just more in your body and in the present moment. And then when you just say, okay, all these symbols, I no longer need them that much. I have them, but I don't need them, and I don't anchor my identity within them. What then happens is that first it will feel like withdrawal because they gave you a sense of stability. But now you have also two big advantages. One advantage is people can't attack you as easily because these things that you connect your ego to, they also make you attackable. But now you just don't care. And the second thing is you also don't care because you know what you can and what you can't do. But you will see way more clearly what you can do. And maybe you were way more pessimistic and self-critical, and now you realize what you really can, what you actually can, what you truly can. And you are able to connect with that, with those things that are actually yours. And from that point onward, no one will ever as easily be able to make you feel insecure about what you can or can't do. Because your perception, your senses, your consciousness will be grounded in reality, in actuality, and not in your ego, not in all the labels or symbols that you use.